Today, we will talk about some large scale financial collapse. Now, this is a little bit conspiratorial, but I do very firmly think and believe that the world economy is basically a ticking time bomb at this point in time. And this came about with this tweet that I got from a more tinfoil person I follow, which is not that. But there are allegedly some reports that claim that UBS has collapsed. But the bad thing is that this chart right here is the cost of insuring against a UBS default, but it is from about March of 2023 when we had some other banks collapse here in the US, which I will compare. But I did also see this update. Whoa, that's not the right one. It was this one right here that this chart has dramatically come down back to about the beginning of this year, and it was at this point in about August as well. So I don't really think that this information is the most accurate just from this tweet, but if you pair it up with some other information that I have, that it's at the point where there's just too many coincidences to be a coincidence, right? But there is some older news that lines up with this as well. So this chart, I believe, is from this essentially, and it is from March of 2023 after UBS agreed to buy Credit Suisse when it was having a lot of issues. Now, if we go back to March of 2023, when Signature, Silicon Valley, and the First Republic Bank collapsed, that was worth about 532 billion at that time, which is more than the 526 when adjusted for inflation held by the 25 banks that collapsed in 2008. So essentially, this 2023 financial institution collapse has already been larger than what happened in 2008. But we have been printing so much that it's just kind of swept under the rug in a lot of ways. And it's ironic that about 4 days ago, I think, the UBS chief calls for tougher sanctions on negligent bankers as well. This is from one day after how this guy wants UBS to be saved, and he believes that the bank is not too big to fail. Now, why am I actually talking about this? Well, I won't read who this is from because that would probably get me a lot of trouble. But there are some really interesting points made. So, UBS is worth about 3.2 trillion in terms of how much, in terms of the value of the assets that they actually have, and that is 3.2 trillion with a T, which is about 6 times this amount that has already collapsed here in the US. So just to make this clear, UBS is the bank that saved Credit Suisse back in March of this year, which is being called out as fraud. Now, an interesting thing is that when this was announced, the price of gold, silver, platinum, palladium, and rhodium all popped up as well. I believe it was from Wall Street Silver that compared the closing. I think it is the first time that gold has ever had a monthly close above 2,000. I don't know where that is right now, but I did have that. So why is all of this important? Well, it was happening at the same time that UBS was freezing some withdrawals due to liquidity challenges. And I will tie all of this into crypto as well, so just hang on for that. There was also the Bank of Spain has asked for more information about recent disruptions to the country's payments network and is closely monitoring the situation. So it's not just a one bank thing. A lot of things were happening this week, as well as with HSBC. They had a lot of complaints that customers were not able to access their funds. Here is the COMEX live, which is about the same as this one here, but it is just off by a couple of days now. And how does all of this relate to crypto? Well, if you remember, the CEO of BlackRock called the move over to crypto as a flight to quality, just as these financial institutions are having issues with liquidity and just kind of their solvency in general. And here is a clip of him explaining that.
I believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we can have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement.
Now, what asset does that sound like? What asset is working with the ISDA, the International Swaps and Derivatives Association? Well, that is none other than XRP. Now, I won't get into that on this video at least, but I do want to run through some very tinfoil information that a lot of you might find insane, and at this point I do too, but it's always just a little bit too much of a coincidence for me to just entirely ignore. So this thread here was originally put out probably maybe a year ago, and the original one had some dates on this as well. So I believe that the first one was talking about like the 26th or something like that, but it just seemed to line up very well with the timing that we are seeing these things again. So this would have been yesterday. So banks and online payment systems will have an outage in Europe and the US. Well, that actually did happen. So that's a check right there. Customers will try to get cash from banks but will be turned away. That sounds like HSBC, but Again, that's a little too vague for me. Now, this is the interesting part, Monday through Friday. That would be this week. But it's talking about a liquidity crisis that has a collapse in the markets, and that would go into the EU. And it does call out the DTCC here, which I have done a lot of content on how XDC and XRP tie into that. Then it just goes more into the collapse. Then we have things change with the U.S. government. Before we talk about gold and silver backed currencies again. So I just it's all just a little bit coincidental for me, and I'm probably connecting a couple of things that aren't really directly connected, but just with everything that has happened over the last week or so, and with the 2023 bank collapses already being worth more than all of 2008, it just makes me think that there's something working in the background that the elites and the news do not want us to actually see.